Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome. Welcome to Facebook Live on the 18th of August, year 2021. I hope everyone is doing fantastically well and enjoying themselves. The summer is almost coming to an end and people are going back to school. I'm joined today by with Eileen, who is here with us. She keeps us streamlined. She does an incredible job keeping us streamlined and serves as a panel member while she's multitasking and picking up all the comments for us. And I don't know where my panel members are, so we're going to give them a couple of minutes and I'm going to talk for a few minutes. Just 1 second. I think Kelly should be joining us in a few minutes. So I was telling Eileen right before this Facebook Live started that I attended the World Summit with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins and all kinds of speakers. Lisa Nichols was there. Shalene Johnson was there. There were a lot of speakers and motivational it was like motivational. It was like training on how to set up courses and set up what they call the self-education industry, right? Tony Robbins is considered like the leader. He started like, what, 44 years ago? But what I noticed, right, Eileen, it was so amazing. So the room that we were in, so they had on Zoom, we were 17,000 people in Zoom. Can you believe it? Just like being in a basketball stadium or in a football stadium, we were 17,000 people on Zoom live watching them. And then, so they had us, they broke apart the 17,000 people into 500 people per room. And then they had room, what they call them as ambassadors. They had a room ambassador. They had a couple of people from the Tony and Dean team managing the group, right? So we would like, every day I would like start commenting. That group, like unlike our group, which is a little bit more quiet, that group is like, they kind of excite you about the event so much and put in so much exuberant joy that you end up like typing comments constantly, you know, like here is Eckhart's teachings talking about no thought and sit back and no thinking, right? And there it is, like they're like commenting one comment after the other, one comment after the other. So after the first, I don't know when I realized that I was in room 11. I don't know if it was the first day or the second day. This was a 3-day event. But then I started like, I was like, how incredible is it that we are in room 11? You know, 1111 is considered like we are aligned with source. That's the, if you see 1111, that means that human is aligned with source. And so I started inspiring everyone, you know, hey, we are 1111. We need to bring the highest vibrational state. We are connected to source. So it started even there. I was like, not only do I do it to my Facebook group, that I encourage everyone, hey, Eileen, come, let's do some workshop or let's do something together. And hey, April, come, let's do, or Louise, let's do this. Gracie, let's do this. It was like, even with them, I started that we are at the high. So what the realization of the epiphany I had that weekend was, we are born uplifters. If we are engaging with society, right? How much ever Eckhart may say you have an inner purpose and you have an outer purpose, my experience as of that weekend was that our purpose truly, once we get aligned with inner beingness, is uplift others. We are born uplifters. What do you say, Eileen, about that? And I see Kelly joining. So, good evening, Kelly. You made it.
Evening, ladies.
Good evening. So let me introduce Kelly, and I'm sure he does not need an introduction. He's been with us for more than a year. Kelly's our one and only Qigong teacher, as well as a spiritual teacher. So I was talking about my weekend with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, Kelly. I don't know if you've watched the Tony Robbins event where they have a lot of music, they make you move around and all that.
I'm familiar with Tony Robbins. I've been watching him ever since he first started.
Right. I know. So what I was telling Eileen, so I was put in room 11, like they had 17,000 people.
Wow.
And I don't know if I realized on the first day or not, but I do remember from second day on, I kept egging everybody on. Hey, you're room 11, you're 1111. 1111 means you're at the highest vibrational state connected to source. It started even there. It's like not even on the Facebook channel or the Facebook group. I even started doing that there. So I realized I came to that epiphany that we are what Abraham Hicks says, we are born uplifters. Like if we are participating in this world, we are meant to uplift, right? What do you say, Eileen? Do you not feel that way in the past 2 years? Now you've...
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I actually had Jillian did my soul contract reading over the last week or so. And we went over it yesterday. Mm-hmm. And it was like so many things that she had said. I was like, of course, of course, of course. Yes. The last 2 years, oh yeah, that happened like 10 years ago. But it was just funny because I think we are here for that purpose. I think everyone is, in a way here for that purpose. But I know that some of us are a little bit more enthusiastic about it than others. But yes, I do agree.
Do you want to comment on it, Kelly? And then I'll go into the question that Sandhya has asked.
Sure. So the question or the topic is how we are all here to uplift each other.
That we are born, what Abraham Hicks says, right? That our innate quality, like everybody asks, what is my inner purpose? What is my inner purpose?
Everyone's inner purpose is to just be here.
But we have an innate sense of uplifting.
Yes. Short answer is yes. Hey, Travis, good to see you.
Good evening, Travis.
I would agree with Abraham Hicks on that. Yes. I would also say that some people here are not for that at all. Some people will just remain unconscious and blind to everything that's going on around them, and they're just here for the ride. Not everyone can be conscious. Not everyone has a soul contract to be conscious. And it's great to have people out there who are promoting the whole concept of upliftment and service to others, because just being here, being present is, itself an uplifting service to others. One of the things that sort of gets me is people are always like, oh, what's my purpose in life? What's my blah, blah, blah? What's this? What's that? And it's like, it's not outside of you. It's not outside of you. It never is, never was, never will be. Because when you align with your heart and you're present with yourself and you understand the difference of being present with yourself instead of hooked into the external world or caught in external drama, life changes, your priorities change, your perception of reality changes dramatically. What you feel is necessary changes dramatically. What you feel you need to do for yourself changes dramatically, because you understand how to be with yourself and how to spend time with yourself, and how much that changes you and how much that uplifts you. So being present, being energetically responsible with ourselves, for ourselves, being emotionally and mentally responsible is in of itself the uplifting service that we can all perform without having to go look for it anywhere. And that is probably the most important thing to do. Sharing space with others, sharing space who are open to receiving the support, is the external manifestation of this. Being able to help others, support others on their journey does become a natural thing, because that is in everyone's heart. That is the whole purpose of spirit, of source, of creation, is to experience itself and to grow and to learn and to expand its own awareness of self. My 3 cents.
Thank you, Kelly. It's just that I don't want people to think that, okay, now I know that presence is my inner purpose. So now I'm going to withdraw from the world, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be present.
Oh, well, people actually can't do that. That's one of the things of the way the world works nowadays.
Right?
I mean, some people who are lucky enough, bills have to be paid, food has to be bought or got or hunted or whatever. People still have to live. No matter what you're doing, yeah, there's a lot of talk about withdrawing from society, but if you withdraw from society, then you are not going to challenge yourself. You're going to stay in your comfort zone, and you're not going to grow anymore.
Eckhart has an analogy. I don't remember when he stated this story, which is some Buddhist monk stayed in his Buddhist monastery, was stung by bees, and like he calls it the greenhouse, that you're being raised in your greenhouse, and then you suddenly now then whatever hill he was on top of, meditating and everything, being stung by bees, they knocked on his door and said, hey, you have to go get your passport renewed. And so he goes to get his passport renewed. And of course, you know how passport renewal is, right? They'll suddenly say, oh, you're in the wrong line. You need to now go into the other line. And now this monk goes, I can't believe you're making me go, and yells and screams at. So that's what happens with the greenhouse. Don't be in a greenhouse. Thank you, Kelly, for that. Good evening, Travis, and to people that have not, may not have come across Travis. I think most of us have come across Travis. Travis is our one musician other than Caesar, and also a spiritual teacher. Good evening. Good to see you, Travis, after a few weeks.
Yeah, good to see you guys too. I know it's been a while, so it's nice to be here with you and see your faces again, and good to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
The question, Travis, was, and this probably has a quick answer, and then I'll go into the deeper question that Sandhya actually has. If Eileen can do me the honor of reading it once I post it, I came to the epiphany this weekend that we are born, what Abraham Hicks says, we are born uplifters, is really true. So if you want to comment on it, Eileen and Kelly have gone through it. Thank you.
Sure. I would not disagree. I think that it's we are born uplifters. It's our nature to it's the Sat Chitananda, it's our nature to be kind and gracious and singing and dancing and laughing and playing and joyous and sharing, and that's what life likes to do, and that's who we are. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. So let me paste this question. I know Eileen may have seen it, and even I have not kind of read it, so I will read while Eileen speaks.
All right. So this person says, my friend recently shared his story. He has 4 siblings and none of them communicate with each other because of some family drama 15, 20 years back. They are not on good terms with their old widowed mother who is left alone to fend for herself. Thinks this kind of pattern runs in his family, as he shared a similar story relating to his father. His father, being the eldest of 5 siblings, took care of all of his family, all his family's needs from an elderly age and absence of financial support, but was left abandoned by his grown-up siblings because of some misunderstanding. Hearing this, I felt bad for the father who could neither get the support of his children nor his siblings. Also, my friend's loss on missing his family. Is karma genetic?
You want to start, Travis?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll start by, I'm not sure who this is sharing, but just to say thanks to who it is who is sharing. It's a lot to share, and so, and very vulnerable and personal. So I feel like I'd have to scan over all of the details to really absorb them. So I'm gonna just kind of jump down to, oh, Sandhya. I'm gonna jump down to is karma genetic, and try to answer it in a relatively short way. So we're all born into some utterly unique set of circumstances. It's almost like we're thrown into almost like a project or a puzzle that's halfway done or somewhat done, and there's a lot of overlap. We're all working on something. We're all working on ourselves. We all have so many things resolved or matured inside of us, and so many things that have yet to reach their culmination. And so there's this kind of mysterious overlap between our personal karma and especially our family, but really everybody that we interact with. I don't know if it's something that can be understood entirely. I don't know if that's necessary, or if that's the idea, that we are to understand how karma works entirely, and how our circumstance, how we ended up in it, and how we share it, and how it overlaps with people around us. But I mean, so no, it's not necessarily genetic. I mean, I guess there's always going to be threads connecting us to, say, even if you were born to a certain mother and father, but at birth you were taken to go and live with some other family, and you spent the duration of your life never encountering your mother or father, you would still have some threads, some connection, powerful and strong threads connecting you to your birth mother and father. But you would also have all of the relationships, all of the connections with whoever you're with. And so I think it's, the question of responsibility comes up for me, where I can look at my life and go, okay, well, I was born into this situation. When I was a child, there were a lot of things that I didn't have a choice in. situations I found myself in, and as an adult, it's now my responsibility to work out my conditionings and patterns and wounds and things inside of myself. And so it's kind of like saying, like, if you were to use the analogy of being dealt a hand of cards, you have the cards in your hand that you have. That part's already decided. You can't go back from there. So however the deck was shuffled and whatever happened prior to those cards showing up in your hand, you can't do anything about it anyway. That has already transpired. That's what you have. So you can't choose that. You got dealt those cards. What you can do is play them as best you can. And so my suggestion, and I hope this is to focus on the matter at hand. Look at the cards that are in your hand and how to play them, because that's the only part you can do anything about. Who shuffled the deck and who dealt the deck and what's in everybody else's hand isn't as important as how to play the cards that are in your hand right now. So I hope that works as an analogy. That's what comes up for me.
Thank you so much, Travis. Eileen, did you want to say something about the topic?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this, because the way it's worded is karma genetic, I think, is what's stumping me. Because part of me wants to say yes, part of me wants to say no, just because of the terms that are being used. But what
you can also look at it in this way. What advice? She's their friend, right? So what advice could she give that would alleviate some of this?
I think I'm going to be sounding sort of maybe harsh, but like taking, and I think maybe Travis kind of said this in a way, but taking 100%, responsibility for what's happening right now, kind of, what's happening in my present moment right now, not what happened before, not what might happen later, not going to the past or going to the future, but just what's happening right now. That's whether it's advice that she's giving or what would be best for the actual friend, but staying present. And I know a lot of people say, like, we learn from the past, but I say the hell with that, because honestly, we have to do what's best in this present moment for ourselves. And we can only do that if we're, here and in the now and responsible for what's happening in our lives at this present moment. And so my advice, although I try not to give advice, would be to just focus on the present moment, finding what's, positive in this moment, not worrying about past or future. I don't know if that makes sense.
And your G word?
Oh, yeah, being grateful for all of it. Doesn't matter what it is. Good, bad, ugly, positive, negative, doesn't matter. All of it. Every bit of it. Because even those things made them who they are today. And in some way led them to her. So grateful for all of it.
Thank you. 20, 30 years is pretty long a time, right? 15, 20 years. Like to hold on to a resentment for 15, 20 years. Oh my goodness. That's a
But-
long.
Sorry, I was just going to say, when you said that's a long time, but it might be a long time to hold on to it, but it's not too long to let go of it. Not at all. I had something for 42 years and it was dropped in an instant. So, and it's very healing to do that.
Thank you so much, Eileen. Kelly, did you want to say something about this? I don't think it's karma is genetic. It's more like there is a definite pattern that we can detect, right? That the father went through the pattern. There is a familial pattern, cultural pattern that exists in that family.
Except karma is the way that you use your awareness, which is learned energetically from our parents and imprinted genetically, embedded in our energy system through the actual physical creation of a child. So short answer is, yeah, kinda. But that's the super simplistic and superficial way of looking at it. Family patterns are family karma. And it can be looked at as being genetic because it's such an obvious, loud pattern. And it has been repeated seemingly, I guess, on both sides of the family. The impact of the projected illusion from parents onto children, I find, is very generally misunderstood and not really looked at substantially. I mean, yes, ego patterns and whatnot, but it really boils down to the emotional attachment through the pattern of the ego validation of the anger. And anger is always anger and resentment. I mean, actually, you know, you say it's a really long time, but it's very normal for people to hold on to resentment for that long because people are generally that unconscious and that conditioned to normalize and cultivate their anger instead of their awareness. And this is one of, you know, why we're all here today, is because we're talking about awareness and the reality of the impact of patterns. And karma is basically a limited belief system, because limited belief systems keep us stuck in repeating patterns. And until we actually become aware of those limited belief systems and how much energy and emotional time and space we have put into those patterns and invested into our ego validation through anger and resentment, you know, yeah, it is like, once you actually do realize it, as you said, Eileen, it is really easy to let go of it once you actually get there. It's like, oh, wait, what was I doing? It's like, oh my God. It's like, I just dropped, like, you know, that big heavy knapsack that was on my back. So in a sense, karma is genetic because the energetic imprinting from parents onto children affects us dramatically. And all of us here today, and those of us watching, we've all worked through a great deal of that, or are working through a great deal of that, or want to work through more of it, and are therefore very conscious and working at being even more conscious and more aware. And that's what breaks karma. The anger and the resentment, the swing of the pendulum from one extreme emotion to the other, is what keeps that resentment, that karma fueled, right? That emotional energy of throwing everything around and continuously staying in that loop of emotional energy, of false emotional energy, right? Because it's programmed. It's not aligned with our hearts. It's not actually who we are, because it's a programmed illusion of personality. And that is kind of everyone's karma, is to step out of that programmed reality, out of that false reality, and realize who they truly are outside of the illusion of karma and the wheel of karma. When you begin to stop your mind and you begin to become aware of your patterns and your programming, and you observe them and you hold space, you build that balance against them, then even if there has been a family pattern that's been there for 20, 30, 40 years, doesn't matter. You can hold your space against it. You can change your whole family. And it does, and that's how it works. It's literally, I mean, it's not simple, but I was about to say it's really that simple, but it's not. It's the work and the holding space for oneself and building that counterbalance to all of that weight of the family drama that is the real work, and is actually very, very much at the heart of the upliftment of humanity and the service towards our fellow human beings on this planet. My 3 cents.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So Travis, what would you think is an advice that, to me, it seems like one portion of it is they are siblings, and siblings are not actually even talking to each other, right? And talking to their mother who is widowed. So what I would work towards, if I were in that situation, in that family, I would work towards getting the siblings to talk to each other. You know, we talk quite a bit in this Facebook Live, and we do that broader perspective meditation, right, Eileen? When we do the when we did the abandonment, did you look at from the mother's point of view? She realized that she was not good enough. So she said, okay, here are the children. You take care of it, because I know I don't have it in me to take care of these children. So they may be a broader perspective. We would need to know what is the resentment that is keeping them stuck in that resentment, right? To unlock that resentment, because isn't that called quantum entanglement? They're entangled through the resentment, right? They're entangled with each other through the resentment, and they're going to keep themselves at. So you want to talk about that, Travis? Like, what would you offer other than what Kelly said, presence power, right? So this brother can hold presence power, but what more can they do?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'd say, you know, I think that the presence power is that's the heart of it. Is finding one's own peace, independent of the family situation. Because if one has to, if one is anchoring their well-being and their peace to everything being arranged in some appropriate manner in the family dynamic, that puts way too much pressure on all of that, and that's ridiculous. So to be able to find a peace with inside of oneself that is independent of circumstance is probably the most powerful piece of this puzzle. So that's essential. It's absolutely essential, and it's primary. From there, what one can do once they find that peace, or to whatever degree one can find that peace within oneself, then that is that now they have a wealth of a greater wealth of understanding, a greater wealth of patience and compassion and humor and all things enjoyable and pleasant and attractive to others in the faith to share, because one's constantly drawing upon their own inner well to find what they need and find what they can share with the family. So rather than coming and asking this and that, so like if it were me, what I would do probably is start trying to reach out to siblings. And quite likely you might not get a whole lot of response. It might be a rather lopsided relationship. It might be you doing a lot of the work to reach out. And if there's any resentment there and you go, hey, I'm always reaching out, how come you're not reaching out? That's not going to help them reach out more. But if you can actually just keep doing it, and again, it's a tremendous challenge for someone to do these things. These are not easy things, but to keep drawing upon one's inner resources for satisfaction and continuing to offer that and give without any expectation of anything in return. When we do that, then others are so delighted by that, whether they're aware of it or not, that they're much more inclined to be receptive and also start reaching out eventually. And so, and maybe it'll take 15 more years or 20 more years, but that's okay. You can still live your life and have everything else going on. And so that's what I would do is just just keep feeding those connections, those threads in the family. And then people, it will discover in their own time how much they value that connection, and come to realize once again that these are some of the most important relationships in their life, and that they want to give more time to nurture them, and they'll take on some of that responsibility. So there's no guarantee that you'll get any results, but there is I say this with a lot of confidence. I feel absolutely confident about this, that there is a guarantee that if you give your very best and you can be your best self and you rise to the challenge, that you will be rewarded in that. So even just to be your best self and be as gracious as one can be with their family members, with their siblings, even if they don't get anything in return from them, it's still tremendously rewarding in and of itself just to be that way, just to be good with the ones you love. So I think it requires a lot of patience. I'm speaking somewhat from my own experience. So it's
Beautiful.
It's been huge in my life, and it's things that took a lot of time, and then it's fun to watch everyone come around and get excited about the relationships and sharing, and so it can happen.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Travis. And that's exactly what was going through my mind, because Byron Katie says, even if you have, like, you're not having a good relationship with your son, grown son or daughter, right? They may not want to see you because you were a bad mother, and they may not want to see you, but at least you can go and park your car in front of their house and watch them go inside and out. Right? It almost is like giving presents to your child.
I don't know if that's appropriate unless they want you to, but
no, but that's what she says, is you can be in that proximity, and or you can drop, like what I was suggesting somebody is, the greatest thing is don't be attached to the fruit of the action. Like you can, if it's your son's birthday and you have lost connection with your son, what I told one of my coworkers is buy him his birth. If you're going to be in town, buy him his, and she was going to Oklahoma, buy him the birthday gift, leave it at his door, whether he receives it, somebody steals it, it doesn't matter. It is your intent that you cared enough to make that trip. You cared enough that you went, got a gift, and you cared enough to go drop it off in front of his home. Now, whether he opens the door or does not answer the door when you knock on it and doesn't accept the gift, that's, you leave it to the universe. And you keep doing it over and over again. The same thing with phone calls, right? Even I had that same thing that you're saying, Travis. My mother was so angry with me that she wouldn't talk to me year after year, right? but I kept calling and I would ask about her. I would keep calling, can I talk to her? I never said, no, I don't care and I won't talk, right? Finally, after a few years, she let go. She asked me to come visit her in India. You know, the presence, the constant attention is what you're talking about. And it's beautiful advice. They don't expect the other for renounce the fruit of the action, right? The karma yoga. Renounce the fruit of action, just selflessly do your doing. And the universe will arise. Something will change, something will shift, right? So, and maybe all the siblings shift just because of your selfless intention that they should get together. And you can even sit in a chair and do it, right? Like imagine them getting together, the visualization, the active visualization. So thank you, Travis. I see Caesar joined. Good evening, Caesar. Uh-oh. The moment I say good evening, he went off screen. Good evening. Are you able to talk or are you going to keep driving?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so if people are not familiar with Caesar, Caesar is a musician, a channel, and a spiritual teacher. He's one of our panel members. We're talking about a question, Caesar. And I know you cannot see the screen. But the question is, somebody's saying, please discuss this. My friend recently shared his story. He has 4 siblings and none of them communicate with each other because of some family drama 15, 20 years back. They're not on good terms with their old widowed mother, who is left alone to fend for herself. He thinks this kind of pattern runs in his family, as he shared a similar story relating to his father. His father, being the eldest of 5 siblings, took care of all his family needs from an early age in absence of financial support, but was left abandoned by his grown-up siblings because of some misunderstanding. Hearing this, I felt bad for the father, who could neither get the support of his children nor his siblings. Also, my friend's loss on missing his family is karma genetic. Do you want to comment on that?
Sure.
Thank you.
In order for the healing to happen, somebody needs to accept or surrender to the isness of it. I mean, it's the common thread here. And perhaps if one does this and they're able to exemplify their peace that they get as a result of that, maybe it will spread to the others. Because to carry around that kind of, I don't know, hatred, if that may be a little harsh of a word, is very painful over the years. And it again goes back to the conditioned behavior of most people, that victim mentality that we always talk about, yes? Having said that, the communication breakdown isn't as big of a deal per se as the act of forgiveness. Once that happens again, this opens the door to your serenity. Then the healing can begin. And when, say, one person of the family is able to do this, chances are they're going to reach out to somebody, another sibling, the father, whatever it may be. Love is going to conquer the hate. I think Dr. Martin Luther King said that hate cannot defeat hate. Love can do that. Only love can do that. Something along that lines. So there's so many different aspects here. I mean, it brings me to 4 agreements. Do not take things personally. And April's probably got a great point on this with the psychological element, psychology. But spiritually, it's just all about that forgiveness, surrender, the acceptance of the isness, and that will open the door to their peace. And again, I just feel like it would spread like wildfire, if just that one person does that, because love is a very powerful frequency. So I hope I was on track with the question, because I kind of turned it a little faded, but yeah, so it just goes back to the same thing we talk about week in and week out. The best thing you can do to gain peace of mind and freedom, and all that other good stuff that comes with it, is the act of surrender, the act of forgiveness, the act of acceptance, and that will open the door and it will provide you much peace. And it's over. And again, and along with that action may come the reaching out, the communication may start to build up. Only good can come from it at the end of the day. And it's such a very simple act to surrender or forgive. It's how many years ago? They say time heals all. Well, it's not time that heals anything. It's what you do within the time. At some time. At what time? How about now? Now is always the time. It's always the best. Thank you.
Poonam, you're muted.
Thank you, Caesar. Thank you, Travis. Thank you for letting me know. So one of the things that we've talked about already on this panel is this, didn't I say in January and February, I kind of remember like beginning of this year, we were talking about how there is a conditioned pattern in humans to cut themselves off. Like we do that in Facebook groups, right? Like people block each other. Like they get angry with each other and they're blocking each other, right? They're talking about President Trump and President Biden, and this person is Republican and this person is a Democrat, and they'll just block each other. They'll get to the point, and all it is they're stuck with an opinion. Neither may be right or wrong, but each one thinks they're right, and they're stuck with an opinion. And they defend the opinion, that pointer from Eckhart, that it's just can we know that it is just a thought, whatever the resentment is, the 15, 20 years that you were stuck with, is just a thought, right? I mean, do the siblings understand that it's just a thought? So Sandhya, can you help your friend realize that resentment is just a thought, and you're defending that thought? Your ego is feeling superior or deriving a sense of superiority from being attached to the thought that this person, this other sibling is wrong, right? And two people can, I think, Elizabeth Lesser talks about it with her. She wrote a book called Marrow about her sister going through this bone marrow transplant, and Elizabeth Lesser had to donate the marrow to her sister, and she was like and the whole story is that she made her sister actually go through like a spiritual growth, because she said, if you want to accept my marrow, you need to be in unconditional love with me. So let's go clean up any past between the two of us so that you can actually accept my marrow, right? So they went through therapy sessions, and she said two siblings can experience the same experience or life situation. This person will have one kind of story about it, and this person will have another story about it. And it's the same exact life situation, right? Like if I look at my past and I go, my brother was really mean to me and he beat me up and whatever, right? But if you look from his perspective, he'd say she was so rude to me. So I can see that two people can have a different opinion about the same life situation and hate each other for it, right? So that's another aspect to it. I know, Eileen, you're waiting to respond with, somebody responded with a long comment, but you were not able to paste it, right? Do
Yeah,
you
it's
want
not
to,
letting me paste it in
Go ahead.
for you to read, but I can read it.
thank you.
It's a question. Someone's reaching out for help, so I can read it though.
Okay, maybe while you read, I'll type it up. Go ahead.
Okay. And it might allow you to copy it, but it's not letting me for some reason. It just keeps beeping at me. So a member says, I'm 35, born and raised in Orthodox Muslim family, 7 sisters, 3 brothers, where I'm eldest among the brothers. Father died of cardiac arrest when I was 12, and mother died last October, kidney failure in Mumbai, India. I'm married to my decade-old Christian girlfriend, Margaret, 34, since 5 years, no kids so far, and I was working for Accenture India as senior associate until August 2020 and was asked to resign because I didn't do quite well in the organization. I'm ever since sitting home getting depressed every passing day, searching for meaning and purpose of my existence by going to every possible religious place, churches, temples, shrines, mosques, etc. My wife works for IBM India and I'm fed and I'm alive because of her. Otherwise, don't feel like living, as I'm financially broke and have no interest in whatsoever of this life. Don't feel like waking up every morning and continuing with this kind of dependent life, though I'm not physically challenged, but mentally, yes. I'm annoyed and irritated and frustrated on almost everything. I've read many self-help books, including Power of Now. They list a whole bunch of books. Secret, Think and Grow Rich, Alchemist, Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, Power of the Subconscious Mind. Also have been many spiritual gurus. I think it was supposed to be been 2. Meditation, a 10-day meditation courses, but nothing seems to work in my favor. I'm literally fed up. Please guide me so I can find what I'm searching. Sorry to write such a big question.
Thank you so much, Eileen. That was a very, very long question. Kelly, did you want to take up the response to the question? And I'll try and find the excerpt wherever this question is and paste it over here. If you heard what Eileen said.
Sure.
Thank you.
It's down by the bottom of the comments. It's by Moin Hajmi. So that's a lot of things that you're processing. My question is whether or not you have processed through your mother's death, whether or not you have looked at the impact of your father passing away, because there's a sense that I feel of process through your mother's death, whether or not, because there's a sense that I feel of, is that you put on? There we go. Okay. So yeah, I mean, especially if you're an ethical and principled person, Moin, one of the things that I feel here is that you being dismissed or asked to resign kind of reflects maybe some abandonment issues that you felt by your father leaving when you were so young. I have friends who've had parents pass away when they're young, and they have some profound abandonment issues that make them very angry, and they don't know how to be safe with their anger, and they get angry that they're angry, and they get sad that they're angry that they're angry, and angry that they're sad about being angry that they're angry, and so on and so forth. So, my question is what do you do with your mind? Reading books is great, but they give you great information. Those are a great list of books, except for the Not Given a F by Mark Dude. I've read that book. it's sort of it's not exactly a spiritual book. It's more of a call for mediocrity and not actually addressing issues. It's about more, that book is more about making excuses for oneself in order to accept where one is in life, and not actually look at patterns and not actually look at life in general. So there's a lot to unpack here, but really what it boils down to is, how are you disciplining yourself with your mind? How are you choosing to step into observation and to observe your depression and instead of letting your depression run you? You have to create a space for yourself where you can actually step into observation, and you have to have a safe space. And again, I'm not privy, I don't understand the how or what kind of space you might have in your relationship with your wife, but again, communicating and talking, or even writing oneself. I saw one of our listeners mentioned writing a letter. And if you have problems communicating or articulating about emotions, and if your father died of a heart attack when you were 12, that's a big indication that there's been a lot of imprinting about not communicating about emotions. I've had family members die from heart attacks and strokes, and the energetic qualities of those spaces are still very loud to me in terms of how much time I spent around them. And that's just, I'm offering that as a point of reference for why I'm saying what I'm saying. So if with your wife you are not yet comfortable or have not created a space that you feel comfortable talking about these things, write yourself a letter. Write yourself an angry letter if you have to. Get it out so you can see it, so you can actually observe it, so you can actually let yourself look at it on a piece of paper outside of yourself, so it's not in your head. This is something that I do for myself every now and again when I come into a space where it's not that I feel stuck, but I know that there's something spinning its wheels and I haven't quite figured it out because I got so much going on in my life, or I have a space of where there is so much emotional content and emotional information that I'm not exactly sure where to start. Finding community in religious centers and temples and mosques, churches, in wherever you may find community is always a good thing. But again, you have to remember that the real answer is inside of yourself. The real answer is about how are you choosing to engage with your emotions? How are you being emotionally responsible? How are you accepting what happened to you? How are you letting yourself grieve even? Because you being let go, again, is not necessarily a bad thing, because here you have an opportunity to start something new, to start another chapter in your life. And I've been through, getting fired or resigning and having to be on EI and going through training and basically having to reinvent myself in my 20s. And that was really, really hard because I was really gung-ho for the job that I was in. And, there just wasn't funding for my position. And I had to go through the whole process of going back to school and relearning and reinventing myself. And it's not an easy thing. You have to, let yourself accept that it's not going to be easy, because you're probably very attached to that security that you had at your job. I know I was when I got, let go, when I, decided to explore my options, big air quotes, there are options. It's not an easy thing. And the most important thing is to understand that you didn't do anything wrong. Even if you were not a fit for that particular company, that company was not a fit for you. You have to turn it around. Don't beat yourself up. Catch yourself. Find something to rewrite that script inside of yourself. If you're constantly beating yourself up and constantly, bemoaning your fate or feeling angry or sad. I mean, yeah, I'd be sad too losing my job. I mean, right now it's like I'm exceptionally blessed to be working for my dad and working on a couple things on the side. I'm super amazingly blessed. I know it. I'm very lucky. But that also mean I left another job to do that. I had to make a transition 3 years ago in order to help my family out. It hasn't been easy. And there were a lot of times where I my ego was like, well, what are we doing? Blah, 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 blah. We have all these other things to do. And, of course, there's no question I'm going to help my family and help my dad. I love my dad. I love my family. So the service to oneself here is, look at that intensity or that anger and that the sadness of being let go, and understand that it's not actually who you are. Right now, you're being triggered. You've been triggered tremendously. And right now, you're basically wallowing in the pain of what you're holding on to. You're causing yourself pain. So, write a letter, talk to yourself. Understand that the sadness and the grief and the anger is not really who you are. And that here you have an opportunity to reinvent yourself and to also become more deeply acquainted with who you really are. Because we can get attached to jobs. And yeah, it's like, I get it. Security is a huge thing. I mean, especially in this day and age. But we can become really, really attached and get lost in that attachment. And when that attachment breaks, we feel completely lost, and we can feel completely, angry and furious at the world because our egos were so invested in that attachment. So what you really have here is an opportunity to look at that space of attachment and how it's affected your entire life and your mental health, your physical health, whatever else is going on. You've actually been given a very profound learning experience. I've had that told to me a few times, and it just never really it's just like, I don't really want to hear that right now. It's just like, I want to fix this and figure this stuff out. It's like, don't tell me that. It's like, but you wouldn't be asking the question if you didn't want to learn. You wouldn't be here if you didn't want to learn, which quite honestly is 95% of the whole thing. Understanding where you are and where you want to go and how to do it with the kind of integrity that you've always wanted for yourself. Other people may not reflect back at you the kind of integrity that you want. But the service to oneself of maintaining our own personal integrity, to give ourselves space to feel, to communicate with ourselves, to listen, to go inside and learn what that space is actually about. Right now you're in like a crucible. Your metal is being tested. Your fire is being forged. Your metal is being forged in the fire of your emotional content. There we go. That makes more sense. My sincere sympathies. I know what it's like. It's rough at first, but this is just a small part of your journey. And you step back, give yourself some space. Again, writing, journaling, really, really good for getting it out. I've done this a lot during my life, just writing to get it out of my head. Even some of the darkest feelings, some of the darkest parts of our anger, when we get them out and we see them on the page, it's just like, oh, that's it. That's not me. Okay, but looking at it, being able to observe it, it helps with the observation. It helps being able to step into and separate ourselves from that attachment to all those intense emotions. So, yeah, a lot there. I'll just sort of let the other panel members talk, because I could just keep going. So I'll just sort of keep it there. And thank you for sharing with us. And all the best. Wishing you lots of love.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I am so sorry for playing. I couldn't figure it out. Like I couldn't do what Eileen was saying, copy and paste from my laptop. And then it started, I had to try it from my phone and it wouldn't even let me do it from the phone. So I pinned it. I pinned that comment from my phone, then went on the laptop and pasted it. So now everyone has it. Everybody on the panel has it. So I apologize. My deepest apologies for that.
Oh, no worries. No worries. I totally understand. Tech, that's just life.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So one of the things that came to my mind was with the amount of grief that is the loss of father at 12, you may not have processed the grief at 12, and now you're another second grief. Now the mother has passed away. You have not processed that grief. And vibrationally, at that point in time, your pain body, it will cause the loss, right? Because that's what we are attracting. Because we're experiencing grief, our pain body will attract another. It is law of attraction. If you've read the book Secret, then it is the law of attraction. We co-create our present moment. So out of the pain in our pain body, we will co-create the loss. So taking responsibility, we were talking about taking responsibility earlier. So taking responsibility for our pain. So process your grief, experience it completely, give it spaciousness. Our deepest condolences for what you're going through. But if you've read The Power of Now, chapter 10, an uncompromising yes to the present moment. Yes, this is what is. That's what you're saying, Kelly. Yes. I mean, my first job was at 28, and within a year, I had to hand over my job to another group within a year that lost, right? And you are a high performer. You're doing really, it wasn't even like I was not doing well. I've always been a high performer. So that you lose the job, but in a new earth, what is it about the lost ring? Eckhart says letting go is of far greater power. And Eileen talked about letting go. Letting go is sometimes a far greater power, is what I'm hearing Kelly say. The other thing, Kelly, that is playing here is because he's Muslim and he's from India, or he's in India, probably. There's a cultural conditioned pattern of the eldest son taking care of their family, right? Yep. So that conditioned pattern is playing out. The guilt is there because as the eldest son, I am not able to take care of my family. So even that is playing out here. So not only is there grief, now look at the multiple layers of karmic conditioning, right?
Yes, as I said, there's a lot to unpack. Thank you for bringing up the cultural aspect. That is something that I thought of initially, but I didn't quite get into.
Perfect.
You're absolutely right. Yep.
Thank you. So one, remember depression, like saying I'm going to take my life or life is useless. Byron Katie says depression is the greatest tantrum of the ego, right? Like Eckhart says, die before you die. If you want to die, let your ego die first, right? Learn to control your ego and see it, see what's going to happen. Maybe you'll find we are born uplifters. You'll find a way to uplift the world once you recognize how to handle your ego. So right now that's playing. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for all your wonderful advice about writing the letter. So beautiful. Eileen, did you?
Don't give me credit for that. One of our listeners mentioned that she writes letters to help herself process, and that helped me remember that point. I'm sort of monitoring the conversation on the side here. So
thank you for moderating the conversation. Appreciate it. Eileen, did you want to say something, because you may end up dropping off? So
yeah.
Go ahead.
I know I go back to school tomorrow. So, oh gosh, I could say so much. I definitely connect to a lot of things that were brought up. I do agree that the law of attraction, like the whole idea of grieving and not giving space to process that grief, and then that grief being there is just attracting more of the same. So the loss of the job, I would say, has nothing to do with them in the sense of not being able to do the job. It's energy. And so I think being grateful for everything that has happened, because each of those things has contributed to who they are and who they will be. So everything's impermanent. So, I mean, this is what the present moment is, but that's not how it's going to be forever. So I think that having giving an opportunity to, give himself some space to just process those things. And then also using that to your advantage. I went through 2 years of being right where they are. And I just think that for me, meditation is what got me out of it. I know they said that they've tried meditation, but there's all kinds of different meditations. But I think that idea of being able to give space and allow yourself to feel things and be okay with the present moment, no matter what it is, and know that it'll pass, will reduce the suffering, because I think a lot of the suffering's coming from the judgments and the looking back at things. And so a lot of the suffering's coming from things that are like those second and third arrows. It's like the additional stuff that we bring to the situation. But I'll try and talk more on that comment maybe another day this week or this weekend.
You'll respond on the comment?
In the comment, or they can send me a private message.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Eileen. The other part, every time I see Eileen, I just remember gratitude. Like, gratitude is written in every pore of her being, and every cell of her being speaks to me about gratitude. And what I would say is, if you have this effortless grace of your wife being able to sustain you, right? That she has a job. It's not like both your jobs got taken away. I mean, how incredibly miraculous is that? At that point in time, both your jobs could be taken away and you would be homeless, right? Instead of being homeless, now look at the grace, the effortless grace. So surrender to that as well. And appreciation and joy for the fact that she's actually bringing in the money so that both of you are sustained, instead of saying, oh, this wife is bringing the money. Like Eckhart says, right? The ego always likes to turn the other into an enemy, the other. The day that you see your wife as one, the day that you see each and every one of us as one of you, that we are one with you, right? That in Kelly is me and me is Kelly. I see Travis and Travis is Travis. He is in me and I see myself in Travis, right? Though it is one consciousness. There is no other. Don't see your wife as the other. That, oh, she's bringing the money, and there's another conditioning, cultural conditioning, that the wife should not sustain me. I should be the provider, right? This burden is on all male figures in society, in every society. It's not just in India, right? But if you're a male, you should be the provider. You should be bringing the bacon, and you should be providing for the rent and all the bills. So look at that conditioning as well and let go of that conditioning. It's okay for your wife. Right now, your time is to process your grief. And planetary intelligence is giving you the opportunity, enough time without a job, you can stay home and process your grief. So allow yourself the spaciousness to process the grief. Thank you, Eileen. Travis, did you want to say something about this? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I just appreciate what everybody's been saying so much. I hardly know how to add to it. And I wish I could. Oh, I relate to what I'm not sure our friend's name here but I relate to what he's sharing more than I care to admit. And so just to kind of parrot some of what's been said and maybe add a little bit is Moen. So just looking at
It's Moeen. Sorry, Travis.
Moeen, thanks.
Thank you.
So I mean, what I see is that life is creating this situation. It is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. And it's, even though it looks horrible and is extremely painful and extremely difficult, it's a real blessing and an opportunity to look at it, at the pain that you've been carrying with you up until now. And it's an opportunity to offer affectionate awareness to that, and to set it free and to let it go so that you can be lighter and not be so burdened by the pain of your past. Because if you look at, the situation at hand, it's not, one might argue that it's not quite enough to warrant the feelings that are evoked. And so that's an indicator that a lot of that it's triggering stuff that's already there, that you've been carrying, and so the situation is kind of cracking it open, and that's a blessing. And again, I just a lot of sympathy and love and compassion, for the challenge that it is. It's no small feat to face this stuff. Life must think very highly of you to offer you such an opportunity to be so heroic in your own journey. You must be quite the warrior to be given such a test of your of who you are and what you are deep down inside. So but I've never been one for journaling. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I really hear what Kelly's saying there. I think that's very, very powerful work. I know for me, one of the things that has helped me through, I had a time where a couple of years ago where just about everything that mattered most to me all fell apart in a very short amount of time. And I was in such a state of despair, and there's some kind of woodlands, parks nearby, and I would just get up and go hike out in the woods every day, just for 45 minutes in the morning or so. And just those simple walks were enough it was so powerful for me. So I don't know if that's something that would help you. But I know it did very much for me, just to get up and get out and go on these walks and clear my head and be out in nature, where I think in that way, it was a way of not being so swamped in my depressive thoughts around all of it, and to open up to new ways of seeing things. And so yeah, and I'm sure there are other things that in their way can seem so simple but can be so powerful, as as far as just helping to take the situation and turn it into, or recognize it as the opportunity that it is. And so yeah, I just, you know, it's it looks different for all of us when we face these challenges, but it's I really feel for you and what you're going through. It strikes a chord in me, and I you know, I have faith that you'll be able to face these things wholeheartedly, and come through it stronger and more realized in who you are.
Thank you, Travis. Beautiful. The one thing I would say is I don't know how India as a country is right now, whether they're in a lockdown, so he may not be able to travel. That could be the other additional, okay, I went through the loss of my mother last year, and now I can't even move around. So, and then I had a conversation with my brother on Monday for a couple of hours, and I was like, look at the pictures that the pandemic, you know, they had a second surge this year. India had a second surge, and there was so much sorrow. Like I could, through the screen, palpable, and I don't have a pain body to be attracted to. There is so much sorrow, but look at the vibrational energy of that country right now. It is heavy. It's heavy with sorrow. It's heavy with depression. So if you are a human being right now living in India, you are going to get, you know what Eckhart says, you'll get sucked in. It's like a mental virus. Those thought patterns are like little bubbles, and they'll just suck you in, right? So if you don't get a chance, like Travis is saying, of going somewhere remote, like to a nature, somewhere where there's a lot of nature, that nature heals you. Right, Travis? That's what you're saying. Let nature heal you. But what if they are in like a densely populated area and they're not able to move? So we have that compassion for you. So, but realize, bring attention to that the collective energy in the country right now, and it's the same case. Melba talks about Philippines is the same way. India is the same way. Brazil, for the longest time, this whole year, because we have a lot of co-workers in Brazil, and I was doing projects with people in Brazil. Brazil was the same way, right? Like a lot of depression in the country. So if the collective pattern right now is that the collective vibrational energy is lowering, then you're going to get sucked in. So look at that magnetic quality of what Eckhart says in chapter 5, the collective pain body, right? You're going to get sucked in the collective pain body. That could play out as well. So the depression may not just be his depression, it's the collective sucking him into, it almost is like that vortex sucking him into that pain body all the more and getting depressed. So thank you. Thank you, Travis. Phenomenal. Caesar, did you want to say something to Moeen about the depression? Thank you.
Sure. I mean, it sounds like she's reaching out and at least attempting to turn this thing around, having read the books. I mean, that's showing an effort to get it turned around, yes. The law of attraction keeps coming up here, so I'm going to just piggyback off what you guys have been talking about. Within the vibrational frequency that she's carrying is also where she's placing her attention. And as we know, that's exactly what is going to keep showing up, because that is what your frequency is tuned to. Abraham talks a lot about you can't get from happy to sad. Can't do it. You have to make a choice to be happy to get to happy. Emotions are a great indicator on where you're at vibrationally. It's signaling you that you are at a low frequency, quite frankly. The gratitude that you was mentioning for Eileen is a great way to turn that ship around, for sure. If she's talking about it, well, my life is that. Well, there she's placing the attention on the wrong end of the stick, if you will. It is when she decides that this is over. I am now going to break out of this slump, this darkness, whatever it is you want to call it, and begin to live my life in peace and excitement and joy. That is the vibrational frequency that you have to seek first and foremost. So we can quit telling our sad story. We could quit thinking about our sad story and start placing your attention on exactly it is what you want. Because when you do that, even the thought about happier days, imagine yourself happy. Make that a habit. Wake up in the morning. Wouldn't it be great to not live like this no more? Actually, don't even say that, because there you're placing the attention on the void of what you want. So, but you have to at some point say, I'm ready to be happy. And you make that choice. And then you just keep building on that. Create that momentum that is of what you want, leaning towards what you want, not pushing away or just standing there anchored in the water and not going anywhere. It's stale where you're at. I know I've been there. But again, at some point, you really must make the decision to be happy. And how do you do that? You just do. And then the universe will take care of the rest. The universe is constantly supporting you in everything that you do. And last week, we talked about tests. There really are no tests. Them are just indicators where you're at. The universe never tests us. God never tests us, whatever you want to call it. It's never testing us. It's just showing us where we're at vibrationally. So take a look inside, as Travis said. Find that peace that I promise you is within you, because that is the essence of who you are. And that's a great frequency to roll with too. So if your frequency is that of sadness, depression, things of this nature, that is the frequency, just like a radio station. You tune it to 105.7, which plays smooth jazz. But you're looking for the rock and roll station on 102. You got the wrong frequency. You have to dial in exactly what you want. And I think that's really what this boils down to on a spiritual level, is the law of attraction. It's the energy. Perhaps watch some Abraham Hicks videos. Might do you some good, because you have studied, or at least read, the Eckhart Tolle work, which is phenomenal. But at the end of the day, the universe offers back exactly what you feel, what you think, and what you feel. When the thought and the feeling become one, then it has to be. That is the great law of attraction. So be that. Be happy. Just be. As a matter of fact, just be. And the universe will do all the work for you. There's no climbing and pushing and fighting to get where you want to be. It's really effortless. It's about being in alignment with what you want, where you want to be. And you can be there that quick. Every moment, as Travis said, is the perfect opportunity. You've now experienced all the contrast you need to know exactly what you don't like, which offers you the opportunity to know exactly what you do want through that contrast. So we can start off by being grateful that you've experienced the contrast. That gets you to happy. That gets you to gratitude. that gets you to the peace that you're seeking. So be that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Caesar. Talking about being from India, and he's in India, we never had running water. So we would collect water. I don't know how many of you have gone through that phase of collecting water, and you put water in a bucket and you pour it over yourself to take a shower or take a bath. And so every morning, and I used to dream as a kid, I want to be able to turn a knob and just water pour over me like rain, right? So the moment I turn on my shower every day, it's like immediate gratitude that I manifested this as a kid, that you just turn a knob and have the setting, and here is water pouring over you. And people take it for granted that you have a clean toilet and a clean bathroom. Just to have a clean toilet and bathroom, I'm like filled with gratitude. So each thing should give you joy. The fact that you're able to brush your teeth, the fact that you're holding a cup of tea and the cup of tea is going to give you warmth, gratitude for that. Then go every step, because that is going to be your invitation of abundance. That's what Caesar is talking about, right? So we had one question, Kelly, before we leave. Candy says, depression is the greatest tantrum of ego. Hope that you can elaborate on this.
Depression. It is your ego, and it also is not, because sometimes depression is actually a part of the grieving process. And when we actually go through the grieving process, we have to go through the actual stages physically. And oftentimes when we step into a new space, we have to grieve and feel depressed over the old space that we were in and that we had held on to for such a long time, which can be really, really hard sometimes and can make us feel exactly as if we are depressed. So it's really important to understand and discern, and to not just look at everything as a symptom of one ego thing or another. Because sometimes when we are processing our wounds and actually healing them, we have to feel how limited we've kept ourselves. And that is not an ego thing. That is an actual heart thing. That is where we actually give ourselves the space to feel what our ego has done to us. And we have to grieve it. And we have to feel that space of low vibration, of low density, of low energy. And sometimes it can get really physical. Sometimes it's very mental. But yes, depression is sometimes the ego throwing a tantrum and not wanting us to succeed, not wanting us to move forward. And bye, Caesar. Just us chickens now. Okay. Old farm saying for my dad. So depression is, again, this goes to how important it is to actually have a practice of sitting with self, of going inside and listening and hearing and letting ourselves feel everything that comes up and not judging ourselves. Because yes, absolutely, the ego uses depression and anxiety and fear and anger to twist us all around and confuse us about what we're actually feeling and why. And yes, absolutely, depression it can very well be, most of the time, a tantrum, an ego defense mechanism, if you will, when we're actually moving forward, when we're actually making ground and healing old wounds, because the ego doesn't want that. The ego does not want us to be better than we are, healthier, doesn't want us to heal, doesn't want us to move past our patterning and our program. So while, yes, I agree with that statement, I also know from personal experience that depression and sadness and grieving of the old space that we're in and that we are moving out of is also a very real thing. And we have to understand this, and we have to be able to discern what we're actually feeling inside, because the ego likes to sneak in with its, under the cover of shadow at night while we're sleeping even, and hook us into a little drama that, oh my God, I'm feeling this, and this must be who I am, and this is my identity now, and there's no hope for me, and blah, 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 and all of those scripts, because it does not want us to be free of our limited belief systems. It does not want us to understand how much is actually inside of us. So there are lots of ways that the ego throws temper tantrums and has hissy fits. And they're all an ego defense mechanism to keep us from feeling deeper, to keep us from being present with ourselves. And having dealt with anxiety and depression when I was younger, it was, very eye-opening when I began to just stop myself and not wallow in my depression, but let myself feel it and step back into observation and begin to understand that, okay, I didn't start feeling like this until this person said that. And then I didn't say anything, but I bottled it up and didn't let myself actually feel what I was feeling. And now I feel depressed because I didn't express myself, but more importantly, I didn't let myself accept what I was feeling. And that's a really important thing to understand, that while yes, depression is part of the ego's defense mechanisms, it's also really important to not get stuck on those perceptions of behavior that surround feeling. Because the most important thing is not get stuck on the word depression or anger or anxiety, but to go inside, align with our heart, be present, be emotionally responsible with ourselves, and to listen to what we are actually feeling, and to question, like as Buddha, again, is one of the reasons why I was Buddhist for such a long time, or kind of still am-ish sometimes. Buddha, one of my favorite things I ever heard, ever read, was how Buddha said, question everything until you feel it in your bones, including these words I'm saying to you right now. So I'll leave it there, because there's, you go into the whole gamut of like limited belief structures and the feelings surrounding those, but it really boils down to letting yourself feel, even if you are depressed.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelly. I think the reason why, so there is and Eckhart differentiates between like losing a loved one and experiencing sadness and grief. And he says, and he lost his parents within the span of 6 months or less than 6 months. One passed away and the second passed away. And he said, you will experience sadness and grief, you will cry, but there's still the joy of beingness underneath that. I mean, the background of your presence, the joy of inner alignment with inner beingness is there. You can feel the life force that you are. And on top of that, now there is some sadness. You will cry. I cried in 2016. My mom passed away. So I cried. Like, you get that heaving kind of cry, because that person is not going to hold you, hug you anymore, right? Why is depression is the ultimate tantrum of the ego? The reason why Byron Katie is saying this is explained by Eckhart in his, I think it's the 4th module, the teacher called Suffering in School of Awakening. He says this victim identity, like we may not have a car, the ego cannot derive its sense of feeling superior through, I have a 10,000 square foot house, and so superior, right? I have my BMW, or like, you don't have any possessions, you don't have any education, you don't have the other ways in which the ego can build an identity. So what can I do? At least I can be a victim. Look at my misery, wear that misery like a badge of honor.
Exactly.
my victimhood, right? And that's why it's a tantrum, because all we are doing is it's a thought. That victimhood is self-talk in the head. Oh, I'm poor little me, right? And those thought patterns is the ego, because the ego in that thinking is feeling superior than the other. Oh, Kelly has no problems at all. Look at me, how miserable I am in my misery, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I won't know that Kelly has like a gazillion more problems. You don't know the story of the other, right? The other person may be experiencing so much loss. Like Kelly's been taking care of his dad who went through a car accident. Who can say, like, from looking at his face, what he's gone through in the past 2 years, right?
Very, very true. Very true. Yep.
So that's why he's saying, that's why Byron Katie says it's a tantrum. And what Eckhart says is it is so seductive for the ego. It cannot get out of the victim identity. And here, Moeen, this is your test. This is your test by planetary intelligence. Can you get out of this victim identity?
And the thing about depression is it makes our minds brittle, where every little thing triggers us emotionally. So we get these jolts of emotional, like literally emotional highs. So it's not only seductive, like mentally, but physically as well. We get to normalize that and we get used to that. And until we like stop ourselves and see what's going on, it is really hard. It's super seductive. I know when I was a teenager and I was depressed and angry all the time, it was kind of fun. That part of my ego was like, but like, don't you want to go back to that fun? I'm like, no, I don't. That wasn't fun. Are you kidding? But again, the seduction, the way the ego feeds off the constant false emotional highs, the triggers, the constant agitation in the body and mind, it's a big thing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm wishing the best for you, Maureen. Many blessings, infinite blessings, that you find a job. You actually use this time to ask the question, who am I? And find a way to know who you truly are. Because no matter what part of creation it is, it has infinite potential. That's why the name of the group is Exploring the Infinite Potential in Presence. And it is for you to experience your infinite potential. You have it. Thank you. It's been incredibly amazing, Kelly. And everyone out there, Candy, thank you for your question. Moeen, thank you for your question. And our deepest condolences. Eternally grateful to all of you for all the questions and all the responses. And many blessings. Have a good night. Bye. Thank you.